Hi there. I'm glad to welcome you to my channel, World of Stories. I have a lot of interesting life stories that I want to share with you. Enjoy listening.
The boss looked meaningfully at the wall clock, which was the main decoration of his office. Mr. Allen made this gesture brightly and expressively, intending to leave the visitor in a state of shock or confusion, but Ms. Miranda had long grown accustomed to such antics from her boss. She smiled and apologized in a conciliatory tone. "Mr. Allen, please don't be angry with me. I know I was supposed to submit the report yesterday, but the data just didn't come together for me." The boss didn't want to back down so easily. Trying to be intimidating, he deliberately stretched his words and said, "I expected setbacks from anyone but you. Ms. Miranda, you have always been a reliable shield of our department. And I can't even imagine what could make you change your principles." Not a muscle twitched on the woman's face, and her smile continued to convey a positive message to her interlocutor. "Mr. Allen, you know that even an old woman can make a mistake. Technology can be wrong, and I am just an ordinary woman." The boss interrupted. "You women, representatives of the fairer sex, love to boast about your weakness, and we fall for this trick willingly, suffering for it. Although men are much weaker than you, by the way, world statistics confirm this fact. And you, my dear Miranda, and I are part of this wonderful professional community." The boss spoke so convincingly that the woman was filled with the grandeur of his speech and even straightened her shoulders. Over the years of working in statistics management, she had firmly grasped the main rule: joking with numbers is dangerous. But the boss was waiting, and she had to explain the reason for the delay. "As always, you are right. I am proud to be entrusted with such a high honor, overseeing the life of our city." "You said it well. Just one correction, we are not only happy for our city but for the entire region. That's why the importance of our work increases exponentially." The boss was satisfied. Now he could present even the most ridiculous arguments as an excuse, but Ms. Miranda had never been good at lying since childhood. That's why she confessed honestly. "I understand the responsibility, so I won't submit the form with an error, although I could have. I decided to inform you. The data didn't match up right here." The woman pointed with a pencil to a column of numbers in the report generated by the computer, and the boss looked at her in astonishment. "There's no error here?" Miranda couldn't help but notice the disappointing figures. She recalculated them 3 times, thinking there might have been a glitch in the system. The man rubbed his temples in frustration. "Whose fault is it that our numbers have dropped so significantly compared to last quarter? We won't be praised for such results. You've certainly noticed it correctly. I double-checked the reports we received from the companies yesterday, and it was the agricultural sector that let us down. Their losses exceeded the permissible limits," she replied. "Did you inform the management?" Mr. Allen asked. "It's not within my jurisdiction, Mr. Allen." The boss started rubbing his temples more intensely. "Exactly. We shouldn't interfere in someone else's mess, I'll have to take the blame." "Oh, how difficult it is. I can already imagine the governor's angry face. But it's not our fault. Let the responsible parties answer for their mistakes. Try explaining that to them, that we're not involved. The officials always look for a scapegoat, and statisticians are the perfect targets." The boss pondered for a moment, tapping his pencil on the desk. It wasn't a pleasant sound, but Miranda endured it for the sake of their work. To expedite the decision-making process, she offered her suggestion. "It seems to me, Mr. Allen, we should inform the mayor, and let him decide what to do with this statistics." The boss glanced at his watch again. "Well, we'll have to do exactly that, even though I don't want to. I feel sorry for our mayor, he's a good man, business-oriented and responsible. But we have no right to set him up." The chief contemplated for a couple more minutes, this time without tapping the pencil, then picked up the telephone receiver. "All right, Miranda, you can relax for now. I'll try to get through to the mayor." He started dialing the reception number, and she, trying not to make any noise, left the boss's office. Ms. Miranda was confident that there was a lot of work happening in her department, but as soon as she stepped out of the elevator, she heard suspicious noise. "What are they up to in there?" This exclamation of outrage echoed through the long corridor. There were many jokes circulating about the size of this room, most of them not entirely decent. But all the employees knew from their own experience that the long corridor was perfect for relieving stress and other negative emotions. According to various estimates, the distance ranged from 80 to 100 steps, which was quite considerable. As Miranda approached the source of the noise, her anger dissipated, but to maintain her image, she felt obliged to conduct preventive work with the staff. When she pushed the doors wide open, a tomb-like silence fell in the department. Only the youngest employee, Helen, exclaimed in surprise. "Oh. Ms. Miranda, you're so quick." The head of the department glanced sternly at the frozen faces of the women. "What kind of celebration are you having during work hours? It can be heard from outside. Is this an entertainment venue or the statistics office?" Ms. Vivian, the oldest employee, made a peaceful remark. "Don't scold the girls, Ms. Miranda. They work like horses from morning till night, glued to their computers. They deserve a little break." "And who said I'm against that? But there's a time for everything. During lunch break, you can sing and jump around." Unexpectedly, Helen revealed the reason for the commotion. "Ms. Miranda, is it true that you're soon celebrating your silver wedding anniversary?" This naive question caught the department head off guard. She froze in confusion and didn't know how to respond. Ms. Vivian came to her aid. "Please forgive us, but such events don't happen every day, and we are all delighted for you as a team. While you were away, we discussed life a bit." While the senior employee spoke on behalf of everyone, the department head regained her composure. "Of course, thank you all for your care, but I still don't understand the reason for your boundless joy." This time, Helen preempted her senior colleague. "How can one not be happy, Ms. Miranda? It's such a rare occurrence in our time. I mean, a long-term marriage. According to statistics, nearly half of couples get divorced within the first 5 years, and another 20% split up within 10 years. I was actually compiling a chart for our region, so I have precise data." Ms. Vivian interrupted the girl. "Helen wanted to say that your case is unique, and we were just discussing the problems of modern families, but it got a little louder than it should have. Although it's understandable because it's a sensitive topic for many." The faces of the employees were tense, and Miranda was surprised to think that these kind women and girls were afraid of her. Although she had always been against excessive familiarity at work, she had never sought to instill fear in others. But what surprised her the most was that the team cared about her personal life. She remembered how her father taught her that personal matters should be left at home. She had diligently followed that rule for many years, but it turns out that life can be different. Not everything fits within established boundaries. The women anxiously watched their manager, and she couldn't move from one point. The genuine concern of a small team touched her heart, and Miranda thanked everyone once again, but this time with much more warmth. "Thank you, but I didn't think that my personal life would be of interest to you as my subordinates. And it's not customary to discuss such things, but still, thank you. It's very pleasant." Ms. Vivian decided to express her opinion. "Based on my own experience, I know that it's gratifying for anyone when others show interest in them. And we're not strangers here, after all. I don't want to refer to numbers again, but scientists have already proven that a significant portion of our time is spent at work. We spend much less time and minutes communicating with our loved ones than dissecting matters at work." Happy Helen chimed in. "Statistics are such a useful science after all." Ms. Vivian looked at the girl in a way that immediately quelled her desire to interrupt her elders. "Numbers are numbers, but my personal opinion boils down to the fact that the team is like a second family. In principle, such relationships used to prevail in large factories and small enterprises. People would bond and celebrate holidays together. Unfortunately, things are changing for the worse today. Everyone retreats into themselves, like a snail in its shell." Miranda felt awkward. The women looked at her, expecting support, but the right words seemed to escape her. So she settled for a straightforward statement. "While I agree with many of your points, I still believe that engaging in personal conversations during work hours is an indulgence we cannot afford. We can discuss current topics at another time. For now, let's focus on our work. The employees bowed their heads over their computer keyboards, and through their eloquent sighs and glances, Miranda understood that she may have gone too far with her team management. She headed to her office, a small space separated from the operating room by a thin glass partition. Someone's dissatisfied whisper caught up to her. Poor guy. How did he survive a quarter of a century with such a shrew? Although the anonymous remark stung, Miranda chose to pretend she hadn't heard anything. She struggled to get into the work mode for a while. An unsuccessful report and an unpleasant conversation with her subordinates had tarnished her good mood from earlier in the day. Throughout the day, Miranda eagerly glanced at the clock, waiting for the workday to end. By evening, it started raining, and intentionally, she had left her umbrella at home. She had to run to the parking lot where her car was, jumping over puddles. The elegant high-heeled shoes were not designed for such maneuvers, and one heel broke off right at the end of the distance. Damn it! What a day today. Everyone's against me. Due to the bad weather, traffic jams were everywhere. Therefore, Ms. Miranda returned home when darkness began to fall. She noticed lights in the windows of the apartment on the third floor and asked herself, I wonder, did Alex manage to come home before me today? In their family, they never established a habit of notifying each other about their departures and returns. They initially decided with her husband that such accountability was something demeaning, restricting their freedom. Alex made numerous unsuccessful attempts to establish this practice, but Miranda always ignored his initiative. In the end, her husband gave up, and everything settled into a pleasant routine for the woman. As soon as she turned the key, the door swung open by itself. Surprise! Angela rushed at her mother and embraced her tightly. The girl was taller and stronger than her mother, and Ms. Miranda felt like a doll in her arms. Angela, ease up. You'll suffocate me. The daughter loosened her grip a bit. Mommy. I'm sorry. Emotions got the better of me. I missed you so much. What a bad habit you have, not informing about your arrival. You could have called. I wanted to surprise you. And where's Dad? Still at work. He always stays late into the evening in his laboratory. How long have you been here? Miranda felt fatigue weighing her down, and the joy of meeting her daughter took a back seat. This surprised Angela. Mom, are you okay? Did I imagine it, or are you really not happy about my visit? The woman looked at her daughter. How could such a wild thought enter your mind? Of course, I'm happy. It's just that today was a stressful day, and we got held up with the report. And then my heel broke off. She demonstrated the piece of footwear that had caused her the most trouble. Angela nodded understandingly. Yeah, that's much more serious than my unexpected visit. Daughter, your irony is uncalled for. You should understand that besides your interests, there are other important things in my life. Angela raised an eyebrow. Mom. Since childhood, I've learned that the most important thing in the world is your job and everything related to it. The girl shrugged her shoulders and, closing her eyes, spun around. Nothing changes in this house, and it always makes me feel melancholic. Of course, I didn't expect such a cold reception, but I'm not upset. Angela helped her mother take off her soaked jacket. Why don't you ask why I showed up? Angela, give me a moment to catch my breath. Let's prepare dinner together now, your father will come, and you can tell us everything. The girl smiled mysteriously. And I wanted to gossip with you, just woman to woman. Wow, do you already have secrets? Come on, spill the beans. Angela grabbed her smartphone. Hold on a second. I will not only tell you but also show you right now. Look. An imposing man appeared on Ms. Miranda's screen. I'm looking. And who is this? His name is Henrik Schneider. He is the leader of my group. Pleasant man, and he looks sophisticated. Angela jumped in place. I'm glad you liked him. The true meaning of her daughter's words slowly dawned on her. Wait, I don't quite understand you. Why are you showing me a photo of this person? Angela pursed her lips in offense. What's not to understand, Mom? Henrik and I are in a serious relationship, and maybe I will marry him. I'm not entirely sure yet, but everything is leading to a wedding. He treats me beautifully, gives expensive gifts, and last weekend, Henrik introduced me to his parents. That's a clear sign that he has serious intentions. Miranda snatched the gadget from her daughter's hands and scrutinized the face of the unfamiliar man. Angela, but your German is already over 40, and you're only 23. The girl became agitated, which was evident in her active hand gestures. I knew this would happen. When will you get rid of these stereotypes? Everything in this country is based on conventions. And there, they don't pay attention to age and other trivialities at all. Honey, these are not trivialities. Of course, you can act according to your own judgment, but you might have to repent later. More lectures and threats. I'm so tired of all this. I shouldn't have come here. I wanted to make you happy, I thought it would be a gift for your silver jubilee. Angela left her mother alone with her gloomy thoughts and headed to the kitchen. From there, she cheerfully shouted. What should we cook for dinner? I brought all sorts of goodies and even the famous Berlin sausages. Not a minute passed when something started sizzling in the kitchen. These pleasant gastronomic sounds were accompanied by the magical aroma of a meat delicacy. Mom, when will Dad come? Before Miranda could reply, familiar footsteps were heard in the stairwell. Sweetie, Dad is already here. The head of the family crossed the threshold of the apartment with surprise. What's going on? What magical aromas? Is it a celebration? The woman nodded towards the kitchen. Angela has arrived and is taking charge in the kitchen. Without taking off his shoes, the man walked into the kitchen, and soon the daughter's exclamations could be heard from there. Daddy. I'm so happy to see you. I'll tell you everything later, but right now, I don't want the sausages to burn. Alex's voice also had notes of joy. Daughter, you should rest after your journey. I'll change and help you right away. Okay, Daddy, but there's no need to rush. Jealousy pricked Miranda's heart. Since childhood, the children had always gravitated more towards their father, and it had always irritated her greatly. Angela, in particular, was attached to her father. She always found a common language with Alex and even entrusted him with her most intimate secrets. This had caused many arguments between the spouses in the past, but over time, they had subsided a bit. Resentments had been forgotten. And now, this dormant volcano was starting to awaken, promising new family quarrels. The woman stood hesitantly in the middle of the hallway. At first, she wanted to join her daughter and husband to prepare a family dinner together, but after hearing their conversation, she changed her mind. She heard how her husband and daughter set the table in the living room. They usually had dinner in the kitchen, and only on special occasions did the ceremony move to the main room. Jealousy curled up like a hedgehog somewhere beneath her heart, and an inner voice whispered. Your daughter respects her father more, they enjoy each other's company. Your fussiness only pushes people away, even those closest to you try to keep their distance. She tried not to succumb to the call of that voice, to start a domestic protest. Another, more reasonable voice reassured her that there was no reason for discontent. You are a mature woman and a mother, and it's silly to be jealous of your daughter's affection for her own father. Set aside your grievances and spend this evening with your loved ones. The second voice prevailed, and Miranda changed her clothes and appeared in the living room just as Alex ceremoniously brought in a tray with a hot dish. Angela playfully pretended to take a shower with her lips. This family scene lifted everyone's spirits, and even the mother began to play along with her daughter. Dad, is it true that everything turned out great between Mom and me? The man placed the dish in the middle of the table. You both deserve to be in any symphony orchestra without a competition. And, in general, you are the most beautiful women in the world. Alex looked at his wife in a way that made her heart tremble, just like in their youth. A warm wave spread through her body, drowning out that unpleasant voice that urged her to ignore the family dinner. "Dad, our daughter didn't come here for no reason. She has surprises hidden for us." Miranda gave Angela a meaningful look, as if giving her permission to have an open conversation. The girl started telling about her life abroad without any trace of embarrassment. "Dear parents, you know very well that I have ambitious plans for my life." Angela made a beautiful pause to make the desired impression. Alex supported her. "Absolutely right. Youth is the best time to pursue your plans. So, what have you, our daughter, planned for the near future?" "My internship in Germany is coming to an end, but I want to stay there." The fork clinked loudly as it hit the plate. The father's gaze no longer expressed anything good. "Angela, please explain to me, is everything perfect there? Why is everyone so eager to go abroad? Dad, why do you react so strongly to such changes?" "I don't just mean you. Although most normal parents are happy about their children's success. So, in your opinion, are Mom and I abnormal?" "Thanks for being honest. I didn't say that." "No, Angela, you specifically emphasized that, and I'll tell you that you're the abnormal ones, restless wanderers. You and Steve seek elusive happiness far from home, without understanding that you're needed where you were born." Angela stared at her father with wide eyes. Ms. Miranda shifted her worried gaze from her husband to her daughter, carefully choosing her words. She tried to extinguish the growing flame of a scandal. "Alex, Angela is right in that she has every right to choose where to live and what profession to dedicate herself to. I told you before that my father was also vehemently against my choice at one time." The man looked unkindly at his wife and abruptly interrupted her. "Miranda, I understand your desire to protect our daughter. Yes, she has many rights, but we mustn't forget about responsibilities either. I agree that she can receive education abroad, although we have prestigious universities in our country. She can improve her professional level there. But change citizenship? I'm sorry, but personally, that's unacceptable to me." The head of the family paused for a moment and added, "Your personal example doesn't apply here because you didn't go abroad. You stayed here, and today you work here. I also found work that I love in my homeland, despite many difficulties." Angela puffed discontentedly and fidgeted with her fork on the plate. "Dad, of course, your and Mom's example can be considered a model, but everything changes, and you simply refuse to adapt." Miranda looked at her daughter in horror, who didn't immediately realize that she had crossed a forbidden line. Mr. Alex was furious at Angela's statement. "We've been through this before. We adapted so much that we lost our country. It's your decision, Angela, but know that I categorically do not approve of your choice." The girl demonstratively got up from the table. "Well, dinner's over. I shouldn't have come here today." Ms. Miranda remained silent, her eyes lowered. At that moment, she couldn't even imagine how her husband would react to the news that their daughter was going to marry a man who was almost twice her age. In the evening, when things calmed down a bit, Angela sneaked into the kitchen where her mother was washing dishes. "Mom, don't tell Dad about Heinrich for now. Okay?" "Okay, but you understand that such things can't be kept secret for long. Eventually, everything will come out." "I know, but maybe I'll tell him myself later when he's in a good mood." "Tell me, is he always like this?" Miranda shrugged uncertainly. "I don't even know what to tell you, my daughter. He's always at work, and I have my own responsibilities too. We only see each other in the evenings." The girl exclaimed in surprise. "But that's not right." "And what, in your opinion, is right?" "I always believed that a family is when two people not only share living space but also have common interests. But it turns out that you and Dad are just neighbors." The woman looked at her daughter attentively and replied somewhat weakly. "Unfortunately, our desires don't always align with our possibilities. It's difficult for me to explain this to you, but there will come a day when you will understand it yourself. Although I really wish things turned out differently for you and Steve. In my time, I also hung on every word of my elders, took everything my father said as the ultimate truth, and only once did I act on my own." Angela hugged her mother. "And do you regret it now?" Perhaps I do, but it doesn't matter now. It's too late to change anything. Miranda's mother was a silent shadow of her father. Mr. David made all the decisions alone, and Ms. Gina simply nodded in agreement. Since the girl was born very late for the couple, she was raised in sheltered conditions. An entire team of grandmothers and aunts was always ready to fulfill any whim of the little spoiled girl. Mr. David also allowed his darling daughter to have everything she wanted. The negative aspects of such permissiveness began to manifest later, but even the strict father was no longer able to change anything. The parents experienced their first shock when their daughter announced that she wanted to study economics. Mr. David was on the verge of a stroke because he had dreamed that his daughter would continue the family business and become a certified doctor. For 3 days, Mr. David didn't speak to her, and on the 4th day, he exploded. Miranda, think carefully before making a final decision. Economics is boring and exhausting. It's even worse than working in a library. Our family name has been known in this city for almost 2 centuries. I hope that you would continue the dynasty of ophthalmologists or at least become a pharmacist like my Uncle George. Father's words were very persuasive, and for a moment, Miranda hesitated, but her uncertainty was only a remnant of her strict upbringing, and she firmly stood up for her future. Dad, why do you think that I'm wrong and you're right? Because I'm your father, and, in the end, I'm older than you with a wealth of life experience. Dad, didn't you acquire that experience yourself, without outside help, right? Yes, where are you going with this? Well, Dad, I also want to discover everything on my own, without hints. I hope you understand me? Mr. David looked at his daughter as if seeing her for the first time. Deep down, he understood that Miranda had grown up and it was time for her to embark on an independent journey, but as a loving father, he didn't want to let the bird leave the nest because he was very afraid for her. He thought that his daughter would continue to live under his wing, and everything would be fine. But Miranda saw her future differently. Dad, thank you for your care, but I will do what I believe is necessary. Maybe I'll regret it later, but it will be my mistake, and I'll have to fix it. Mr. David reluctantly accepted it, although he had been deeply upset for a long time, but another blow awaited the middle-aged man in the near future. Miranda graduated from university with honors and was already working, so her father couldn't control her anymore. When she returned home late, he would only grumble and throw angry glances her way. Mr. David also reacted negatively to the news that Miranda would be a witness at her friend's wedding. Miranda, why do you need extra trouble? Well, it's necessary to attend your friend's wedding, of course, but you don't have to actively participate in the ceremony. It's enough to be there as a guest, say kind words to the newlyweds. I don't understand why you want to be in the spotlight. Besides, you won't be able to handle the role of the toastmaster. Why do you think that way? Because you're not a public person. You're shy, and your speech is uncertain. But a bridesmaid should be confident, even a lively girl without complexes. Miranda was deeply hurt by her father's words. I didn't think you would underestimate my abilities like that, Dad. I'm sorry, but from now on, I'll think 100 times before saying something to you. And she kept her promise. Miranda didn't tell her parents a word about meeting a young officer at her friend's wedding. They also didn't find out about the romantic dates of the love-struck couple. Miranda informed her mother and father that she was getting married just a week before the wedding. And she only made this decision because she didn't want to neglect established traditions. The introduction of the prospective son-in-law took place in an extremely tense atmosphere. When Alex politely bowed and thanked them for the dinner, Mr. David pounced on his daughter. Miranda, what are you doing? Are you really planning to marry this soldier? But the father's shouts no longer frightened the girl as they did before. Dad, don't you think you don't have the moral right to insult someone you simply didn't like? Just so you know, this soldier, as you call him, has received numerous awards. Alex has been to places where no official would send his son. Our fragile world, both literally and metaphorically, relies on people like Alex. Mr. David was speechless with astonishment. He couldn't believe that his obedient daughter was defending a young man from a working-class family so passionately. And the realization of his helplessness weighed heavily on the father. The next day, due to the nervous shock, the man suffered a heart attack and ended up in the hospital for a month. This event had an impact on the relationship between the daughter and her mother. Suddenly, Ms. Gina's character emerged, and she started reproaching her daughter. "You brought your father to a heart attack, and he dedicated his whole life to you. He did so much good." The woman would disappear in the hospital for days, and when she briefly appeared at home, she deliberately refused to speak to her daughter. Miranda found herself thinking that her father's illness was a clever simulation by her parents. Perhaps they chose this last, harshest way to influence their disobedient daughter, but Miranda didn't change her decision. However, they decided to forego a lavish wedding, settling for a standard civil ceremony instead. The final act of independence was when the daughter left her parents' home. Despite financial difficulties, the young couple moved into a rental apartment, and the parents gave in. The next day, they barged in on the newlyweds. By that time, Mr. David had been discharged from the hospital. He immediately started reproaching his daughter. "Miranda, why didn't you inform us? Are we villains? We only wish you happiness. And you, Alex, could have advised your wife. I suppose you don't treat your own parents in this manner." Alex looked bewildered at Miranda, and she at him. Unexpectedly, Ms. Gina came to their rescue. "Since we've come to you, then welcome the guests properly." The newlyweds exchanged bewildered glances again, and the woman correctly understood their silent communication. "Miranda, do you think your parents are completely clueless? No. You are deeply mistaken. Your father and I went to the grocery store beforehand and bought groceries for you for an entire week. So now, we'll join you in preparing a festive dinner." Ms. Gina was an excellent cook. She knew hundreds of recipes for dishes made from simple ingredients. Miranda had never been interested in cooking since she was used to having everything prepared for her, but married life required her to be more active. For several months, she diligently learned from her mother's experience. Alex praised his young wife. "Miranda, you're a true magician. Just don't spoil me with too many delicious treats." Blushing with embarrassment, the young woman tried to diversify the menu every day, but the idyllic period of married life was short-lived. After the birth of their daughter, Angela, all of Ms. Gina's attention shifted to the little girl. Before she could settle back into her work routine after her first maternity leave, she became pregnant with their second child. There was no one to expect help from because Ms. Gina passed away. Miranda's mother left this life as quietly and unnoticed as she had lived it. Expecting assistance from Mr. David was futile since the elderly man himself needed external help. And Miranda had already decided that one child was quite enough, but her husband had a different opinion. "Miranda, if you dare to terminate the pregnancy, we will get a divorce." "I'm not threatening you, I'm just warning you." The woman tried to argue with him. "Alex, but we can't afford 2 children with you. The age difference is too small, and now we have no one to expect help from. Why did you forget that I also have parents, and they will be happy to take care of their grandchildren?" "Alex, what are you talking about? Where do your parents live?" "In the middle of nowhere. And do you think you can send them to a remote place where there is no proper medical care, let alone a daycare or school?" "Miranda, you won't believe it, but people live and work even in remote areas. And imagine, they feel just as happy there as you do in the regional center." Miranda cried in despair because she couldn't break her husband's resistance, so she decided to bring up one final argument. "Alex, I feel sick at the mere mention of a maternity leave. It means voluntarily giving up an active life for several years. It depends on what you, Miranda, understand by that term. Yes, at least a job. I had excellent prospects, and now I can forget about a career forever." Alex wanted to say something else but stumbled on his words. He stared at his wife's face for a long time and then said, "You know, for the first time in my life, I meet a woman who values her career more than family well-being. You know my opinion. Do as you wish." There was no one to seek advice from. The only friend she could trust had moved with her husband to the far north. She hadn't had enough time to build useful connections at work yet. For several days, the woman agonized over the dead-end situation and realized that work was more important to her. In the morning, she informed her husband of her decision and then went to see medical professionals. However, she faced a bitter disappointment. The elderly gynecologist, after the examination, looked at her as if she wanted to drill holes through her. "Young lady, you're very late." Miranda was stunned. "But that can't be. I always keep track of the calendar, and according to my calculations, I'm only in my 11th week." The doctor paused from filling out the form. "Sweetheart, you can stuff your calculations wherever you like. I wouldn't dare to mention that place." "Well, you understand where it is. The baby will start moving soon. I estimate you're at 13 to 14 weeks, but I'll refer you for further examination at a diagnostic center to confirm it. They have modern equipment there. Doctor, please help me. I can't give birth right now." The doctor looked at the young woman sympathetically. "What? So what's the problem? Did your husband leave you?" "No, on the contrary, my husband wants a second child. But I can't catch my breath." The medical professional patted Miranda on the shoulder. "Don't worry, when you give birth to the second child, you'll have a second wind, like a marathon runner. And your husband is right, men like him should be cherished." When Miranda came home in tears, Alex initially thought she had gone through with her intention. Without saying a word, he started packing his things. The woman snatched the travel bag from him. "You can rejoice, I'll have to give birth because I realized it too late. The due date is far off." After this family drama, the relationship between the spouses deteriorated, but they both tried not to show that everything had changed. Each of them carefully pretended to be happy, even though happiness was absent. They simply coexisted in the same apartment. They had breakfast and dinner together, and they also raised their 2 children. By the way, the younger one, Steve, never suspected that his birth had once been in serious question. The spouses also avoided that topic. In this atmosphere of unspoken words, almost a quarter of a century passed. It was time to take stock of their life together, but Miranda and Alex were afraid of doing so. After all, throughout their years of marriage, only 2 moments could be considered positive: the birth of their daughter and later their son. Angela took charge of preparing for the anniversary celebration. Although her parents strongly objected to a noisy celebration, she insisted on a banquet with a large number of guests. "Mom and Dad, I don't understand why you both resist so much. In my opinion, it's great that you've lived together in peace and harmony for 25 years. And I think it would be a crime not to celebrate this event in the grandest way possible." Mr. Alex referred to his chronic busyness. "Angela, I don't have time to catch my breath at work. We have deadlines for an important project, and I also have to go on a business trip soon." Ms. Miranda explained her reluctance to celebrate the Silver Jubilee with extravagant expenses. "My dear daughter, your father and I don't want to waste money. They can be spent on other more useful things." Angela didn't give up. "You have everything you need. What is it that Mom lacks for a comfortable life? Dad, you can postpone your trip. Is there really no one else but you to handle the projects and go on a business trip?" The girl spent several days trying to convince them, but she had to involve her brother in the process. Steve rarely called his parents because those sessions of communication were too expensive. So Angela sacrificed part of her savings. The spouses were thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to their son and even see him. For about half an hour, Steve talked about his sports achievements, and at the end of the conversation, he declared, "Dear parents, if you don't celebrate the anniversary of your wedding properly, I will stay in America forever. I'm dead serious." Perhaps the threat from their son had an effect, or maybe it was the daily persuasions of their daughter, but after heated debates during a family gathering, a date for the celebration was finally approved. Content with the outcome, Angela ordered her parents, "Make a guest list. I'll take care of everything else." Ms. Miranda spent the entire evening lost in thought. She suddenly realized that she had no friends at all. She had no choice but to add her boss, Mr. Allen, Ms. Vivian with Helen. and a few other colleagues from her department to the guest list. Mr. Alex's list was slightly larger. His daughter remarked in surprise. "Well, you don't have many friends." "Honestly, I didn't expect that. I'll have to bring some of my acquaintances to fill up the numbers." During the lunch break, Ms. Miranda handed out beautifully decorated invitations to everyone. Her colleagues were surprised, and Helen was particularly delighted. She had never attended such events before. "But I'm sure it will be fun and interesting." Ms. Vivian playfully teased the girl. "Of course, it will be great if chatterboxes like you behave decently." But Helen wasn't fazed. "You're teasing me, Ms. Vivian. And I want to point out that I'm not the only one in our friendly team suffering from verbal incontinence. By the way, it's a common condition that is transmitted through contact, from senior employees to younger ones." Helen's joke was so successful that even Ms. Miranda burst into laughter. Ms. Vivian playfully threatened the girl with her fist. "Just wait. We'll be alone, and I'll show you some tough parenting methods." The boss also gratefully accepted the invitation. "My wife and I will definitely be there." Despite her young age, Angela immediately sensed that something was amiss between her parents. There had been disagreements in the family before, but they were short-lived, and at least the children didn't feel such estrangement, which shocked Angela from the first day of her arrival. She immediately became alarmed and called her brother. "Steve, we have a disaster. Our parents are on the brink. I think they might get divorced." Her brother tried to reassure her. "You're exaggerating as usual. Besides, it's typical for you women to panic over the smallest thing. Don't think of me as a silly girl. My intuition never fails. I assure you, it's very worrying." "Well, even if everything is as you say, you can't make them live differently." "I can, Steve, and you have to help me." "Angela, how can I help you?" "I can't just drop everything right now. I have a contract." "Oh, he can't." "But I can. Just so you know, I've already taken care of taking unscheduled leave and came to our parents for their wedding anniversary." "And so what?" "Well, almost nothing positive. I'm afraid I won't be able to organize a celebration for them. They only perceive their own desires like kindergarten children, but I'm stubborn too." "What do you need from me?" "Explain." "Nothing special, just talk to them like adults. I'll give you a signal when the time comes." And Angela had to contact her brother via Skype so he could convince their parents. This method worked flawlessly on the adults, and Angela began to prepare thoroughly for the celebration, especially since she only had 3 days left. Of course, it was practically impossible to handle everything alone, so the girl found her classmate, Hazy, who specialized in organizing such events. Even the anniversary couple themselves got involved in the preparations. The shared effort briefly melted the ice of misunderstanding between the spouses, and the day before the event, something incredible happened thanks to Angela's incredible efforts. They were alone in the apartment. Blushing and feeling awkward, Alex asked his wife, "Please tell me, which tie would go better with my gray suit?" Ms. Miranda brightened up. "Alex, you've decided to wear a gray suit? But that's too formal. I think for this occasion, a checked jacket with a steel shimmer would be more suitable. It has an effect that resembles the shine of silver. By the way, I also bought a dress specifically for this special evening, and I think my outfit will harmonize with yours." Curiosity appeared in her husband's eyes. Unexpectedly, he made a proposal. "Maybe we should try, so to speak, a dress rehearsal?" "Alex, you're right." It took no more than 10 minutes to prepare. They stood side by side, looking at their reflections in the large mirrored wardrobe. Both were very nervous. Miranda whispered, "Alex, is it really us? I can't believe it either. We've lived together for a quarter of a century, but we've rarely been alone like this. I only now realize how much I've missed. Alex, I regret many things too. There's so much I would like to change." The man gently pulled his wife closer and kissed her like he hadn't in a long time. At that moment, Angela returned. She pretended not to witness the touching scene, although her soul rejoiced. She admired the appearance of the anniversary couple and remarked with satisfaction, "You look beautiful together. Has no one ever told you before that you make a lovely couple?" They glanced at each other again and laughed. "Daughter, you've accomplished something incredible with us and Mom," Angela said triumphantly. "That's exactly what I was aiming for. You can't imagine how much I love you both, and Steve is worried too. Initially, I wanted to give you an extraordinary gift, to return you to the time when you first met." Ms. Miranda cried, and Mr. Alex, like in childhood, hugged Angela and gently stroked her neatly arranged head. "Thank you, my daughter. You've succeeded in everything. We feel as if we found a second wind with your mother. Unparalleled feelings." The next day, the spouses received congratulations, and their faces never lost their smiles. Angela felt the same satisfaction as a master who had done an excellent job. As she fell asleep that night, she thought, "Now I can return to Germany and continue my internship with a calm heart." The spouses accompanied their daughter together. The farewell was long and touching, and when the plane took off into the sky, Mr. Alex sadly said, "Miranda, our angel has flown away. You know, I only now understand that we didn't give our daughter that name for nothing." Angela. "It suits her perfectly. Alex, there's so much I want to say to you and apologize for." "No need, Miranda. I forgave you a long time ago. Let's not dredge up the past and try to start everything anew. This is the perfect time for it." Indeed, over the next few weeks, the spouses enjoyed each other's company. Their feelings flared up with renewed strength, and they made an effort to keep that spark alive in their hearts. Now Ms. Miranda eagerly glanced at the clock, awaiting the end of the workday. She hurried home to prepare dinner and talk about trivial matters with her husband. Mr. Alex also changed his work schedule because he knew that a loving wife was waiting for him at home. Like in their youth, he once again gave her flowers and spoke beautiful words. The spouses often went for evening walks and started making plans for their upcoming vacation. "Miranda, tell me, where did you dream of going in your youth?" "Alex, have you decided to fulfill my girlish dreams? Isn't it too late for me?" "My dear, you're asking for a compliment. And is that a bad thing? Don't you have a few kind words for me? If I could write poetry, I would dedicate an entire poem to you. But seriously, these past few days, I've often caught myself thinking that both of us have gone crazy. Alex, sometimes it's beneficial to go beyond what's allowed. If it weren't for our silver jubilee and Angela's intervention, we would have continued living a dull existence." That evening, they decided to take a walk before bed. During the day, the asphalt melted from the heat, and only at night did the big city immerse itself in pleasant coolness and the scent of flowers. Mr. Alex had long wanted to tell his wife about something that had troubled him for years, but he couldn't find a convenient moment to start a serious conversation. They went to the premiere screening of a new movie and returned home. The man began from a distance. "In everyone's life, there are events that we don't immediately attach importance to, but when we realize it, it's already too late. Alex, don't be so gloomy. We watched such a good movie together. Personally, I derived immense pleasure from it. I enjoyed the plot too, especially the ending. Unfortunately, in life, heroes don't always have a happy ending. Alex, think about it. How can the final part of life be happy? It's impossible in principle because the end of life is death. In movies, as in books, everything cuts off at some point, and viewers or readers have to imagine what could happen next to the characters. I think it's precisely this characteristic that attracts the audience because it involuntarily engages everyone in creative participation, interesting interpretation. I've never come to such a conclusion, although I've found myself at that fateful line in real life more than once. I hope you understand me." Miranda looked at her husband as if he were a child, and her response to his important question was too hasty. "Of course, my dear, I understand everything, but I kindly ask you to leave all serious conversations for tomorrow. I can guess that you want to tell me something very important to you, but I feel like you've chosen an inappropriate moment." Mr. Alex expected a completely different reaction from his wife, although her indifference to his problems had long become the norm. Hope for any changes had completely melted away. The man remained silent for the rest of the journey, and his wife didn't notice any changes in his mood. She talked about her work and funny incidents in the office. Then the woman remembered her daughter's last phone call. Mr. Alex walked beside her, barely listening to his wife's pleasant chatter. Somewhere near his temple, a thought pulsated. Nothing has changed, Alex. She doesn't care about your desires. She is completely indifferent to your present and past life, and the recent changes are nothing but an illusion. Soon, everything will return to its old place. But in the morning, Miranda unexpectedly remembered their conversation from the previous day. Alex, did you want to reveal some terrible secret to me, or have you changed your mind? The man was already holding onto the door handle. With no time left for conversations, he gently kissed his wife on the cheek. I'm sorry, my dear, not now. I'm in a hurry. Okay, then we'll talk in the evening. Miranda, you probably forgot that I'm leaving on a business trip. But I'll be back in 2 days. The woman frowned in dissatisfaction. You always have these mysteries. Can't you just tell me what's going on in a few words? It's not something that can be explained in just a couple of words. It requires lengthy conversations. I've wanted to tell you about many things for a long time, and perhaps you can even help me. Now that's interesting. All right, Alex. I'll eagerly await your return, and don't forget that the vacation is coming soon, and you promised me an unforgettable trip. I remember everything. Her husband's footsteps faded downstairs, and the woman hurriedly got ready for work. The vacation period was approaching, and Ms. Miranda decided to start working on the semi-annual report earlier. She sat with her head down in the morning because there were discrepancies in the results once again. Not far away, Helen beckoned from behind the glass. She knocked to get the young employee's attention, and the girl appeared immediately. Ms. Miranda, did you call me, or was it just my imagination? Yes, I need you. If it's not too much trouble, please find the report for the previous quarter. All right, I'll be right back. The girl indeed returned a few minutes later with a massive folder in her hands. Can I help you with anything else? You'll be sitting here with this pile of documents until late at night. Ms. Miranda looked attentively at her subordinate. You're right, and it's time to involve you in serious work. Come here, I'll show you what needs to be cross-checked. To the surprise of her boss, Helen quickly found the mistake. She explained her talent with childlike naivety. I had a special intuition for discrepancies in calculations even back in school. Sometimes even teachers asked me to find errors in complex formulas. And you were able to do that? Of course, I had a knack for mathematics since kindergarten. My parents were advised to develop this talent, and then I took care of my reputation myself and constantly trained my brain. When I entered university, I impressed the professors from the very first semester. And how did you surprise them? Well, out of curiosity, I independently mastered some topics in advanced mathematics. And when a suitable moment came, I demonstrated my knowledge. I didn't know you were an ambitious girl. I must admit, I had no idea about your unique abilities. Oh, Ms. Miranda, numbers aren't my only interest. I also remember faces. Once I see someone, they become a part of my database. The boss even set aside the folder with documentation. Helen, you're surprising me more and more with each passing minute. Is it really possible to remember a random person? It's easy. Here's a recent example. I only saw your husband once, and yesterday, boom, I bumped into him at the mall. I went there to buy some little things, and I saw a familiar face. I immediately remembered your anniversary banquet. Your husband was wearing a Metallica-style jacket, and he was walking in the oasis with a young girl, probably your daughter. I didn't get a chance to meet her at the banquet, so I thought it was her. While Helen enthusiastically talked about her phenomenal visual memory, Ms. Miranda sat there, stunned by the unexpected revelation. No, Helen, that was a different man because my husband flew to business trip. The girl's eyes widened. No, Ms. Miranda. I have never been wrong. That was definitely your husband with a girl, not someone special looking, but she wasn't dressed very well. She looked around 25 years old, give or take 2 years. She had brown hair and was of average height. Helen began describing the appearance of the stranger. Ms. Miranda shook her head. No, that's not our daughter. Besides the fact that Angela is currently in Germany and has blonde hair, there is also a complete mismatch in terms of dressing style. Helen wanted to add more to the description of the stranger but fell silent after looking at her boss. Miranda sat motionless, staring at a fixed point. The girl hurried around the immobilized leader. Ms. Miranda, are you feeling unwell? Wake up. Shall I bring some water? With an act of willpower, the woman snapped out of her stupor. Thank you, Helen. I don't need any water, and overall, I'm fine. You can go now. Miranda spent the rest of the day in her office. She didn't pay attention to the passing time, and the surrounding world seemed immersed in a dense fog. The women watched their boss with anxiety through the glass partition. Ms. Vivian called Helen to account. You spent over an hour in Miranda's office. Confess, what did you talk to her about? The puzzled girl shrugged. Why is everyone bothering me? I didn't say anything significant to her. We were talking about reports. Ms. Miranda praised me and said I have an exceptional memory. And I told her that I remember faces from the first time and all. That person was stunned by it. The girl frowned. Oh, something strange happened to her after I mentioned that I met her husband in the shopping center and he was with a young woman. The senior employee became furious. Helen, will you ever learn to think before blurting out anything with your tongue? Can't you understand that not everything can be said? That there are certain limits of decency. Well, why are you attacking me? I didn't make anything up, I just told what I saw with my own eyes. Oh, you clueless one. The girl snapped back, I'm learning from you, Ms. Vivian, I'm learning from your experience. The woman scolded Helen, and with her nose held high, the girl left the office. By evening, news of Ms. Miranda's husband having a young mistress spread through all the floors of the regional statistics department. Women whispered and sympathized with the unfortunate woman. Men, including Mr. Allen, silently condemned the unfaithful husband. However, it was not surprising since almost everyone had their own domestic sin. Miranda spent the whole evening in front of the television. One show followed another, but the meaning of what she saw and heard didn't reach her. She mindlessly switched channels, hoping that it would somehow alleviate her growing anger. Again, something disgusting stirred inside her, and an unpleasant, angry voice whispered sycophantically. I warned you. And you didn't listen. Now strangers are poking you in the eye, saying that your husband is cheating on you. What are you going to do? Probably, as always, pretend that nothing happened? That vile voice spoke for a long time, promising her the most vile things soon, and she believed it because no other voice could be heard. The woman didn't notice when she fell asleep in front of the television with the remote control in her hand. And in the morning, she had a splitting headache, barely restraining herself from venting her accumulated irritation on her subordinates. Alex arrived late in the evening. He looked tired, which he immediately informed his wife about. Miranda, I'm so exhausted from this trip. What do we have for dinner tonight? The woman replied with a composed expression. Sorry, Alex, but I didn't have time to cook anything. I've been running around all day yesterday and today. The man looked closely at his wife, but she, showing no signs of her anxiety, suggested. If you want, I can make you scrambled eggs. Alex frowned. Are you kidding, or have you forgotten that I'm allergic to eggs? But you can separate the yolks from the whites. It's not difficult for me, by the way, and it'll turn out to be a healthy dish for men's health. Thanks for caring about my health, but I'd rather make a couple of sandwiches for myself. Miranda lazily stretched and casually asked. Alex, which flight did you take? Didn't they cancel anything in the city? I heard in the morning that there was a raging hurricane there. It was a blow to the solar plexus. Alex froze with a piece of bread in his hand. His wife looked at him expectantly. Alex, you didn't answer me. The man frantically searched for an explanation, but nothing rational came to mind. He grabbed onto the first fleeting thought. Miranda, you see, something happened. Comrades came to our dire situation and offered us a different mode of air transport. I wasn't alone in the business trip, I was with a whole team of specialists. In short, they brought us home by helicopter. I didn't tell you right away because there are things that aren't customary to share. I hope you understand? Yes, Alex. I understand everything. You have a challenging job, and overall, you have a brotherhood in arms there, and you're lucky. They just dropped you off at the doorstep in a helicopter like a taxi. Miranda, I don't understand your irony. Or do you suspect something?
Oh no.
No, not at all. I was just curious about which flight you took. That's all. The woman looked at her husband once again and left the kitchen. Mr. Alex remained standing with the bread loaf in his hand. He couldn't understand his wife's strange behavior and muttered irritably to himself. What's bugging her now? Consuming his meager dinner, the man had no idea that his main secret, which he had kept for many years, had been exposed. On this evening, he had no inkling of the turn of events that awaited him in the near future. Little did he know that a simple girl named Helen, with an unusual talent, would be the cause of all subsequent troubles. Ms. Miranda also had no idea of the twist of fate that awaited her soon. The shocks of the past 2 days had depleted her reserves of resilience, and she instantly sank into a restless sleep. In the morning, she didn't wake her husband and left the house early. Emotions receded into the background, and rational thinking kicked in with renewed force. This is a characteristic of many people whose lives are intertwined with numbers. Ms. Miranda created a schedule on a separate sheet of paper consisting of 2 items: her husband's business trips dates and the departure times to their destinations. As a high-level professional, both columns were filled in within about 5 minutes. Now it was time for her to analyze the data from the past few months, which was also a regular routine for her. She memorized phone numbers and dates at once, but on the sheet filled with columns of numbers, she discovered only 2 matches. She stared at the orderly columns of numbers as if enchanted, unable to understand how this could have happened to her specifically. So, Alex has been lying to me all this time? And why didn't I notice it before? Well, I've never cared about his work anyway. So, this is the little gift I've received, which is now being hotly discussed not only in offices but also in the restrooms of our institution. So much for a silver jubilee and a happy marriage. She whispered this message to herself, but she didn't want to admit that she herself was partially to blame for the as yet unconfirmed fact of her husband's infidelity. If it weren't for Helen's talent, she would still be in the dark. Her brain, geared for fast work, presented her with various solutions to her personal problem, and a voice that had guided her to the only correct course of action before awakened again. The main thing is not to go to extremes. Helen's observations don't indicate anything specific, so I need to check everything. She confirmed to herself. Yes, I have to check everything myself. A weight seemed to lift from her chest, but there was still an important point that instilled confidence. Throughout their years of marriage, Alex had always been an exemplary family man. Of course, even model husbands cheat, but at the moment, there was no evidence of infidelity. The next 2 weeks went by without any adventures. The spouses were slowly preparing for their upcoming vacation together. One evening, Alex came home earlier than usual, and his face was beaming with happiness. Miranda, we are incredibly lucky. 2 discounted vacation packages came up just in time. The wife of my colleague works at a travel agency, and I shared with my friend that I wanted to give my dearest wife an unforgettable vacation. By the way, did Angela call? Ms. Miranda picked up 2 colorful envelopes and absent-mindedly answered her husband's last question. No, our daughter disappeared off the radar. She's probably taking exams. They're strict about the regulations over there in Germany. The conversation with her husband proceeded simultaneously with her examination of the vacation packages. Suddenly, the woman exclaimed in surprise, Alex, I don't understand. Why San Diego? We wanted to spend time abroad. His burst of joy subsided. Alex emerged from the bathroom, drying his hands on the go. Why is San Diego any worse than a city in another country, Miranda? I don't know how to please you anymore. People hunt for these trips, and you turn up your nose. It's hard to please you. The man, exhausted, sank onto the couch and covered his head with his hands. Honestly, sometimes I'm afraid to cross the threshold of this apartment. Why? Well, it's all because of you, Miranda. You're constantly dissatisfied with something. Okay, cancel the resort in San Diego. Give me the tickets. I'm sure there will be many people eager to grab a two-person tour in the peak of the summer season. They'll snatch them from my hands. He decisively reached out his hand, but the woman didn't hand him the tickets. Wait a minute, calm down. I didn't say anything terrible. I just reminded you of our plans. And I don't have anything against the sunny city of San Diego either. And we don't need to give the tickets to anyone. Miranda neatly spread the colorful brochures on the table, which were given to her husband by the travel agency as an addition to the vacation package. Alex, I just noticed the date now. Why didn't you mention that we have less than a week before the departure? I haven't even written my leave application yet. You're not the only scatterbrain. I haven't taken any action in that direction either. Our boss is the real stickler. I hope he doesn't make a big deal out of it. And our Mr. Allen is always accommodating. I'm sure he won't object, especially since I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. In the morning, Alex called and informed Miranda that he would be granted leave on the condition that he finished all his tasks. Perplexed by this news, she asked, "So what's the problem?" She heard her husband sigh. The problem is that I haven't managed to finalize all the documents, and for that, I need to make a trip to Columbus. Well, if it's necessary, then go. The man was pleased. Yes, I decided to leave today. The plane departs in 2 hours, and I still need to stop by home to get my things. Good thing you informed me. Don't delay and have a safe journey. Miranda hung up the phone. Her husband's unexpected business trip changed everything, and she realized that she needed to take action right now. Quickly writing her leave application, she hurried to the department head. Fortunately, Mr. Allen was present. He didn't even glance at the application. So, you want a vacation, Ms. Miranda? Yes, my husband got last-minute vacation packages. Can you imagine how lucky? 2 weeks in San Diego. The boss raised his eyes to the ceiling. Truly, it's a stroke of luck. Well, I don't object to your vacation. So starting from tomorrow, you can relax. Mr. Allen, can it be today? The man looked at his watch and noticed with surprise. But almost half of the workday has already passed. Why such a rush? It's really important. You understand that women always have more things to do, especially before a trip. I want to go shopping and visit the beauty salon. Well, I overlooked that aspect. Of course, you can go about your business right now. Pass the reports to Vivian and be on your way. Miranda tried to catch the green light on the road to avoid missing her husband. She decided to follow him without being noticed. The woman was confident in the success of her operation because her husband believed she was at work. She was so caught up in the idea of catching him red-handed that she almost ruined the whole operation right from the start. She noticed her husband's car too late, and there was no time for contemplation. So she had to quickly slip into the first available archway, despite the sign warning against traffic. But luck was on her side that day, and this serious violation went unnoticed. After waiting a few minutes, she returned to the main street and moved to the opposite side, where parking was allowed. She didn't have to wait long for Alex's car to appear. Trying to remain inconspicuous, she strictly adhered to the speed limit and slowly followed her target. She was planning to change lanes to turn onto the highway to the airport, but her husband drove past, and she had to continue following him. Soon Ms. Miranda figured out that he was heading towards leaving the city. The suburban settlements closely approached the regional center from various sides. Previously, they were unremarkable villages of different sizes, but with the advent of civilization, they transformed and became attractive for living. Alex stopped in one of such settlements not far from the local market, which was bustling at noon. Miranda easily found a convenient spot to observe. Soon, a young woman ran up to her husband and, gesturing actively with her hands, began explaining something to him. He smiled in response and nodded in agreement. Miranda's patience reached its highest point, and she decisively dialed her husband's number. "Alex, where are you?" she asked. She saw her husband becoming focused, gesturing to his companion to stay silent, and then he briskly spoke into the phone. "Darling, I'm at the airport. I'm in line for check-in. I'm sorry, it's very noisy here. I can't talk comfortably, and time is pressing. Let's hang up, and I'll call you later when I arrive at my destination." "Okay, Alex. Just be careful and watch your belongings," Miranda replied. "What belongings?" "Oh, Miranda, I'm hanging up." "It's my turn now," he said energetically. The distance was short, and she saw a 5-year-old boy running towards the woman her husband was talking to. The little one looked at Alex with interest for a while, then excitedly hopped in place, as children usually do when adults promise to buy them a desired toy. The man reached out his arms and picked up the boy. The joyful squeals of the child reached Miranda's observation point. She felt a nauseating lump in her throat, and her vision blurred. Tears streamed down her cheeks as a sense of hurt and helplessness overwhelmed her. Miranda cast a glance towards where, just a few minutes ago, a happy scene unfolded before her eyes involving her husband, but now neither Alex nor the young woman with the child were there. A sound resembling that of a wounded animal escaped her chest. Tears flowed down her face like a stream, and her numb lips whispered silently. "How could he? How could he? I will never forgive him for this." The invisible creature with a nasty voice immediately made its presence known, deciding it was time for the main line of the day. "Well, Miranda, are you convinced? Will you swallow all of this? I think you should get back at that girl with the child. How's she fawned over your husband? Such things are unforgivable." A powerful dose of adrenaline prompted her to commit an impulsive act, and she immediately started off at high speed. Therefore, the return journey was short but not safe. The overwhelming emotions in the woman's heart prevented her from focusing on the road, and she almost caused an accident, but reacted just in time. After that, she drove more carefully. As promised, her husband called in the evening, cheerfully informing her that he had taken care of everything. "Miranda, are you still awake?" he asked. "No, dear, I'm watching a TV series. It works better than any sleeping pill. How are things going for you?" "Everything's fine. I managed to sort out a few little issues. I'll be back closer to the evening tomorrow." The man fell silent, and then the voice of a magician spoke. "Darling, I hope you haven't forgotten about our amazing vacation." Trying not to reveal her state, she replied in the same tone. "No, honey, I remember. I even went shopping today. I have to prepare my wardrobe for such a significant event as a vacation. And you did the right thing. Oh, and don't forget to bring that exquisite dress you wore to the banquet. You looked magnificent in it. If you have any trouble with money, you can use my card." "Thank you, Alex, but there's no need for that. I've already received my vacation allowance." She consciously lied to her husband because the vacation allowance was promised to be given out only at the end of the week, right before their departure. But she didn't feel any remorse for intentionally deceiving him. If he has been lying to me all these years, why am I forbidden from doing the same? They say you have to use the enemy's methods, and then the result will be guaranteed. In the evening, she watched television as usual, while her mind was occupied with thoughts of revenge. But all the options that came to mind were unfeasible. She would never dare to resort to extreme measures in the twisted detective genre, and gentle methods without casualties and bloodshed were unknown to her. Tired and exhausted from the day's adventures, as she drifted off to sleep, the woman thought, "I need to find out everything myself and then take action." Her professional experience reminded her that obtaining useful information about a person living in a small settlement is not difficult, but Ms. Miranda decided not to rush. Firstly, she was afraid of making foolish mistakes in her haste. After all, revenge is a dish best served cold. The second reason for the delay stemmed from the first. She didn't want to accidentally run into her husband, so she decided to wait for him to return from his business trip before starting her investigation plan. Alex returned during the day, not in the evening. Miranda smirked and asked, "Did you arrive by helicopter again?" The man sighed in the hallway, feigning fatigue, but his wife's ironic remark had a chilling effect on him. "Maybe it's time to stop all this?" "I don't like it." "What exactly?" she asked. "That you scrutinize all my actions lately as if under a microscope." "No, God forbid I take such a step. I just want to understand which airline services you used during your important business trips." "Standard and regular services. You can check the schedules." Guess what? I did check and found out that there are only 3 flights to Columbus per week on odd dates, and the return flights are also 3 times a week, but on even dates. "And what day is it today?" "That's right, July 21st. The man irritably remarked. "It's useless to explain anything to you, and I have no intention of justifying myself. Yes, I have one commitment that I cannot neglect, and I fulfill it." "Great, and this commitment is a young woman with a child," Miranda said. "But why do you constantly try to corner me, Miranda? Don't you allow me to say anything?" "I feel like there's nothing more to say because words are meaningless. Besides, I no longer intend to listen to this endless stream of lies. Leave me alone, and you can sleep in the living room tonight." Trying to stop his wife, Alex grabbed her hand, but she screamed at him. "It hurts. My dad was right when he called you a soldier boy. You have the demeanor and actions of one." This hurtful remark completely extinguished any desire in the man to seek a compromise with his wife. "If my soldier boy demeanor bothers you so much, I can just disappear from your sight altogether. I don't understand why you married me in the first place if your dear daddy was against it. Prepare the travel documents, I'll return them tomorrow. I have no desire to spend the vacation with such a heartless creature like you." Alex grabbed a pillow and a blanket and headed towards the door. Miranda shouted after him, "Of course, why would you need a wife when you have a young lover?" She burst into hysterical laughter. "By the way, you can go to San Diego with her. She will be grateful to you, just don't forget to buy her some decent clothes, because your crush is dressed like beggar." The door had long slammed shut behind her husband, while Miranda continued to shout something offensive at him. Her heart pounded like a trapped rabbit in her chest, and the resentment choked her throat, making it hard to breathe. She peeked out the window and saw her husband heading towards his car with the beddings. It slightly cooled down the woman, overwhelmed by a surge of jealousy. She took calming drops, but sleep eluded her. Several times, she approached the window to check if her husband's car was still there. What worried Ms. Miranda the most was not her husband's well-being, but what the neighbors would say if they noticed him in the car. Several times, she even thought about going downstairs to plead with her husband to come back to the apartment, but then she considered it demeaning and unworthy. Around 6 a.m., the home phone rang. The woman had long forgotten about the existence of that device since communication with children, colleagues, and acquaintances took place through mobile phones. She even startled, partly because of the unexpectedness and partly because the call sounded ominous at this early hour. It was Alex's mother calling. "Miranda, is that you?" "Yes, Ms. Teresa." "What happened?" "If nothing had happened, my dear, I wouldn't have bothered you. I tried to call Alex on his mobile, but it's blocked. So I found your home number." "Ms. Teresa, what happened, after all?" Sobs and lamentations could be heard through the receiver. "Miranda, our Mr. Ben is missing. Those mushrooms dragged him, damn them. He went into the forest yesterday evening, and he's been gone for a day now." The mother-in-law cried desperately. Her words were incomprehensible through frequent sobs. "Miss Teresa, why didn't you call earlier?" "Back then, I was searching in the forest myself because I know those places well, and Ben can navigate with his eyes closed. I tried to convince him to wait, and the guys said there were only a few morels so far, but he's stubborn, saying he wants fried mushrooms. That's what he was craving. Ms. Teresa, hold on, I'll call Alex right now. Oh, my dear girl, do a good deed for me, for I have nowhere else to turn. The rescuers have been searching for my mushroom picker, but it's as if he fell into the abyss. Damn it, I'm summoning trouble myself. The woman threw on her robe and quickly descended the stairs. Alex sat in the driver's seat with his eyes closed. The car door was slightly ajar due to the heat. Alex, I know you're not sleeping. Your mom called, she's waiting by the phone. Let's go quickly, your father is in trouble. The man jumped out of the car. Miranda returned to the apartment and found her husband in complete disarray. I need to go. Of course, Alex. Ms. Teresa needs your support right now. Yes, she's going through a tough time. They're like a unit with her father, I can't even imagine how she'll handle all of this. Don't think of the worst. I'm sure nothing bad has happened to Mr. Ben. Even an experienced mushroom picker can get lost in the forest. Alex hastily began to get ready for the trip, while she aimlessly wandered around the apartment. When her husband headed for the door, Miranda firmly said, Alex, I'm coming with you. He hesitated for a moment, then unfortunately said, No, you'd better stay home. Since our plan for a vacation in San Diego is currently unfeasible, you'll have to cancel the bookings. The address is there, so please hurry. She confirmed her readiness, but her husband clearly wanted to say something else. I have one more request or assignment for you. Alex, tell me, I'll definitely do it. Alex began searching in his jacket pocket. Here's the address of a little boy. His name is Leo, and it's his birthday tomorrow. I promised him a real fire truck as a gift, but I didn't have time to buy the toy. If it's not too much trouble for you. She looked at him with wide-open eyes. It's not a problem. Alex, is this your child? Now it was his turn to be surprised. Miranda, what are you talking about? I don't have and can't have children on the side. Unfortunately, I don't have time to explain everything to you now, but you'll understand if you decide to fulfill my request. I would really appreciate it. In the early hours, all sounds seemed much louder. She heard her husband's car driving away from the house, but she didn't have the strength to approach the window. Closing her eyes, she tried to gather her thoughts, but the piece of paper with an unfamiliar address burned her fingers. She unfolded the note and read the address. Ms. Miranda read the address aloud several times, and then said hopelessly, Well, I'll have to go there myself. I hope I'll discover many interesting things in that settlement. First, the woman went to the travel agency, where a sympathetic girl noticed with regret. It's such a shame. Your spouse was so excited about these bookings, but I understand that you have special circumstances, and I genuinely sympathize with you. What should I do now? Who will buy them? If there are any interested parties, we'll have to offer a massive discount. And that will anger the owner. The girl looked at Miranda as if she could provide her with the right solution. It was the first time the woman encountered such polite assertiveness. But can't you place an advertisement or call acquaintances? Woman, what are you talking about? How can we place an advertisement if the bookings start tomorrow? You should have taken care of it earlier instead of always requesting refunds at the last moment. And everyone always has unforeseen circumstances. All the politeness of the office employee instantly vanished, but her reprimands infuriated Ms. Miranda. And why are you talking to me in that tone? We indeed have a very serious reason for canceling the vacation altogether. But I have no intention of justifying myself to you, and I insistently request a refund. Unexpectedly, a short, plump man entered the room. Diana, what's all the noise here? The girl nodded towards Miranda. Yes, we have a client here demanding a refund, and the booking is hot, very hot, Mr. Albert. The man looked at Miranda with an assessing gaze. I see. Quite understandable. Unfortunately, we can't simply give you the money back like that. You see, it's our policy. Miranda had had enough of both the girl and her chubby boss. She took a deep breath and blurted out. I couldn't care less about your policies, that's one. And you will return the money my husband paid for these 2 bookings right now, that's 2. And if you don't do that, then we'll be having a completely different conversation somewhere else. The man helplessly said. Diana, return the money to the lady. The girl stared at her boss. The full amount, or just a refund without penalties? The owner shouted so loudly that the windows trembled. Diana, are you stupid? Give her everything according to the receipt. I don't need any additional troubles. Miranda left the office and was surprised to find that she had spent nearly an hour there. After disputes and wrangling with the tourism industry employees, her already bad mood had worsened considerably. She was about to get into her car to go home when her attention was drawn to a shopping center, with streams of people converging from different directions. She effortlessly merged into the flow. The toy department was located near the entrance, but the bright colors and diverse assortment left her stunned. She blurted out involuntarily. And where are the fire trucks here? You can't explore everything in a whole day. She looked around for a few minutes until a girl noticed her perplexity. The girl wore a badge that read, Sales Consultant. With the same politely assertive tone as the girl from the travel agency, she asked. Can I help you? What are you looking for? I need a big fire truck that looks just like a real one. The girl smiled. I suppose it's promised to your grandson? For some reason, Miranda immediately answered affirmatively and obediently followed the girl to the very end of the department. Along the way, she explained. Our large items are at the far end. You see, children like to try out the toys right here, and it's not very convenient for other customers. That's why we decided to designate this special experimental zone for them. And here are the samples of the Emergency Situations Ministry equipment. Take your pick. Suddenly, Ms. Miranda realized that she had no idea about toys. I don't even know. Everything here is so overwhelming. How old is your little one? I think he's about 5. Yes, my husband said he's 5. The girl raised her thin eyebrows in surprise, but refrained from commenting. For that age, I think this remote-controlled model would be more suitable. Boys love these cars. I must confess, their dads and grandpas don't mind reliving their childhood memories too. Sometimes we witness such scenes. Okay, I'll take this car. The salesgirl looked at Miranda with the gaze of a teacher. I advise you to check the price tag first. It's not a cheap toy. The woman barely contained an indignant exclamation when she saw the 5-digit number, but she confidently repeated. A once-in-a-lifetime occurrence at 5 years old. I'm buying this car. In the evening, Alex called with sadness, informing her that the search for Mr. Ben was still ongoing, but the chances of a positive outcome were diminishing with each passing hour. He didn't even ask about the vacation bookings and the gift for the unknown boy named Leo. Ms. Miranda decided to remind him about his request. Alex, I bought a cool car. It drives by itself. Thank you so much. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to that village early. Okay, and please apologize to Pamela and Tiffany for me. The new names didn't scare Miranda as much anymore. She just thought to herself. How many more characters do I have to meet? Yes, my husband must have had a very eventful past life. The woman mentally prepared herself for new surprises as she set off to the village with the environmentally friendly name of Forest. She checked the route on the navigator, and within an hour and a half, she arrived at her destination. To her surprise, she saw her husband with an unfamiliar young woman in a completely different place. She easily found Central Street since this village had only one street. With a large box in her hands, she walked along the never-ending street. House number 3 turned out to be at the very end. Beyond that, there was a meadow and a birch grove in sight. No one was in the yard, so she walked along a narrow brick path to the house. Before Ms. Miranda could knock on the door, a woman's voice came from inside the house. Who's there? Come in boldly, I can't come to greet you. Tiffany and Leo went to the store. The woman timidly opened the door. Please come in, don't be shy. You must be from the employment agency. They promised to send someone a long time ago. Not letting go of the box with the toy, the uninvited guest followed the voice. Finally, she saw a room with the door wide open. The room was small but bright. In the corner, there was a large bed with pillows, where a woman in her 50s half lay, her face worn out, possibly from illness. She smiled warmly. You're new here. Don't be afraid of me, my illness isn't contagious. Miranda sat on the edge of a chair. I'm sorry, but I'm not from the employment agency. Another person directed me to you. If I'm not mistaken, you're Pamela. The woman nodded happily. That's right, my name is Pamela. If you don't mind me asking, who is that kind person who sent you to me? Alex. You know him, right? The woman burst into laughter and clapped her knee. Oh my, I mistakenly thought that our bureaucratic brothers had suddenly come to their senses. They promised me mountains of gold, but those promises, as we know, remained only on paper. And now they don't even show their faces, they're afraid of me. Well, I could complain about them. The woman struggled to speak in her uncomfortable position. She fell silent to catch her breath. So you're saying that Alex sent you? Yes, he asked me to come. He's my husband. A shadow crossed the woman's face. I see. I didn't expect to have the chance to meet you in person. You must be Miranda. Please don't be embarrassed, I feel awkward myself. And put that box down. It's getting in your way. Miranda remained in an uncertain state. She obediently placed her burdensome load on the floor and looked around. The room where the bedridden woman lay was modest, but immaculately clean. Unexpectedly, the woman's gaze landed on a photograph where two military pilots smiled cheerfully. Miranda recognized her husband in one of them. Pamela said very quietly. That's Alex with my Larry. They were friends. My husband died, but Alex managed to survive. If it weren't for him, we probably would have starved to death long ago. Miranda felt her legs grow weak, and she slumped onto a chair, overwhelmed. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but these were entirely different tears. Voices could be heard from outside on the street. Pamela smiled again. That's Tiffany and Leo coming from the store. It's our grandson's birthday today. The guest regretfully thought that she should have bought at least a small cake. But aloud, she nodded towards the box. This is a gift from Alex. A real fire truck. Miranda couldn't calm down. The realization that she had thought so poorly of her husband, the relief that he hadn't betrayed her, stirred up a storm of emotions. And a little later, just a few minutes later, she realized how troubled everything was in their family if Alex had been helping these people for so many years, and she hadn't known, not just unaware, but completely oblivious. And her husband hadn't even told her, apparently thinking that there would be no reaction, or if there was, it wouldn't be the reaction of a normal, kind person. Pamela could see that something was happening to Miranda. Miranda, what's the matter with you? You didn't know anything about us? The woman shook her head, then bitterly smiled. Apparently, our spiritual closeness got lost somewhere along the way if I didn't know anything. Don't worry, everything will work out. He asked you to come here, so he had confidence in you. Miranda only nodded her head, and in the next moment, the same boy she had seen at the market rushed into the room. He saw the unfamiliar woman and sat next to his grandmother, huddling close to her. His eyes alternated between the large box and Miranda. Leo, meet Miranda. She's Uncle Alex's wife. Leo smiled, stood up, and approached Miranda, extending his hand. Hello. In a burst of emotion, Miranda hugged Leo's slender body. Hello, Leo. This is from Uncle Alex for you. The boy's eyes lit up as he ran his hand over the box. Can I open it? Miranda smiled. Well, of course, let me help you. They opened the box together, and Leo's eyes sparkled. She's so big and beautiful. When I grow up, I want to be a firefighter too. Pamela laughed. Oh, Leo. Of course, you will be. A young woman entered the room. Hello? She looked surprised at Miranda, and then Miranda understood. She recognized her. You're Ms. Miranda. Uncle Alex's wife. Miranda smiled and stood up. Yes. Hello, Tiffany. Tiffany turned out to be a charming young woman with kind blue eyes. Oh, let me set the table now. Miranda felt flustered. I should probably go, don't worry about me. You must join us for the celebration. And then the woman realized that she wanted to stay here, to sit with these people, to talk. She didn't need to be strict, to hold herself back, thinking about how she would appear. Tiffany, let me help you then. Pamela smiled. Miranda, I imagined you differently. Well, stricter, perhaps? Miranda laughed. Well, Alex will get it from me. He turned me into a monster. While they were busy in the kitchen, Tiffany explained that her mother had been ill for a long time. She needed very serious treatment, but they didn't have the means because such treatment was only available in Germany. Sometimes her mother's condition improved, and then Pamela would get up and do some housework, but most of the time, she spent in bed because her joints were in tremendous pain. Tiffany mentioned that her husband couldn't handle his wife's constant absence and divorced her, but Tiffany doesn't particularly regret it because if someone treats her mother's illness that way, they are not the right person for her. In the beginning, Leo missed his father a lot, who never showed up at their place again. But then he grew fond of Uncle Alex. We probably caused you many unpleasant moments. Alex tried to visit us often, but we understood that it was time he could spend with you at home. Miranda waved her hand. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that we've met. Where is Alex himself? Miranda told Tiffany about his trip to his parents' place and what happened there. Tiffany widened her eyes. Oh God, that's terrible. I hope everything gets resolved. An hour later, they were sitting at the table. Pamela raised her glass. Well, here's to you, grandson, to be just like your grandfather, or even better. Miranda remained silent. She knew that Pamela would eventually talk about the friendship between her husband and Larry. And so it happened. Leo quickly finished his meal, he couldn't wait to try out his new toy. He fidgeted but remained quiet. Finally, Tiffany smiled. Well, go ahead. Otherwise, you'll wear a hole in your pants. Leo didn't need to be persuaded. In the blink of an eye, he was already beside the toy car. Tiffany filled the glasses. To Daddy. Pamela dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. Tiffany doesn't remember Daddy at all. She was only 3 when he died. Miranda didn't know about her Alex's friend. Well, actually, Alex had mentioned before their wedding that he had a best friend who died and that there would never be anyone like him again. At that time, it wasn't appropriate to delve into the details, so Miranda didn't learn anything more. Later, she became less interested in Alex's affairs, but not to the point of not being interested in what had happened before. Life was rolling on its own. She thought about the children, her career, everything in the world except what was going on in her husband's mind. And Alex turned out to be real. Pamela continued. I understand that you don't know about Larry. After all, you married Alex later. Miranda shook her head. No, well, I know about that, about his friend. But that's about it. Larry and Alex became friends during their first year at the military academy when they were both still very inexperienced. It happened unexpectedly. Larry defended me on the street. The odds were against him, and he would have been in big trouble if it weren't for Alex. He arrived just in time, and the two of them managed to handle it with some minor injuries. I was returning from a friend's place and didn't even think that I could be attacked in our neighborhood. And after the fight, it turned out that Larry needed to go to the hospital, and Alex could use some medical attention too. Larry had a deep cut, and Alex had something wrong with his hand. Of course, I couldn't just leave them. So I went to the hospital with them. Alex had a dislocated joint, which they fixed, and he stoically kept silent. And Larry needed a few stitches. We spent some time writing statements, and then we spent another 2 hours at the police station. Well, it was time to go home. And I understood that it's almost morning, and my mom won't pat me on the head. The guys called me to come and explain everything to Mom. It's strange that they managed to do it. Mom even treated them to tea, and since then we've been practically inseparable. We were always together, everywhere we went. We even prepared for exams together, the boys with their group and me with mine. Mom would laugh and say that I had real nights, just like in a fairy tale. And then, when our studies were over, I realized that we had grown up. The guys were no longer boys, and honestly, I needed to make a decision. I knew that both Alex and Larry liked me. But I loved Alex like a brother, and Larry was a bit different. In the end, after Larry and I got married, Alex went far away to serve, and we stayed here with my husband. Alex visited a couple of times. I saw how hard it was for my husband. He was a military man through and through, he needed real service. When Tiffany was 2 years old and things were more or less settled, I let him go, saying it would only be for a short while. For one tour. My husband loved us very much, but he also loved the army. We agreed that he would call and visit whenever he could. Alex didn't feel well, he later confessed to me that he had carried the burden of guilt his whole life. After all, Larry went after him. Larry died a year later. Pamela paused. Tiffany immediately placed a glass of water in front of her. I attacked Alex with my fists and yelled at him, blaming him for everything. Then, when the pain subsided a bit, I realized that Larry would have never acted differently, even if it hadn't been Alex 100 times, but it was shameful to ask Alex for forgiveness. I knew he got married, had a firstborn, and I decided it was best to turn the page and not remind him of it, especially since he never returned to where things were heated after Larry's death. Life became very difficult. Everything that the authorities promised me after Larry died changed quickly and ended. Tiffany was only 10 when this illness started to develop in me due to nerves. But at the age I was, you don't pay much attention to ailments. As a result, we moved from the apartment to here. It was closer to my work, the air was cleaner here, and life was cheaper. Alex said he went to the old address, but other people were already living there. He assumed I got married and didn't look for us either. We met at the cemetery on the anniversary of my husband's death. He asked how we were doing, and I burst into tears. I told him everything, about how I pounded the doors of employment agencies and the military office, about how often Tiffany gets sick, and about how I can barely walk myself. I just needed to get it off my chest because in the pursuit of jobs and salaries, I had no friends left. I was on sick leave once again, and I was threatened with dismissal from work. The time was very challenging. There was a severe shortage of jobs. Alex came to us the next day, just in time, because someone reported to Child Protective Services that I couldn't feed my child. Since then, he has been constantly supporting us. When I fell ill, things became really tough. Tiffany was torn between her family, her work, and me. I lost my husband. They do prescribe me prescriptions for free medication, but they're not available in pharmacies, and there's no substitute. And even if something is available, it's so weak that it doesn't help me at all. I'm grateful to Alex for the rest of my life. He replaced Larry immediately, both as a father and a grandfather. I wish I could just die soon, so as not to burden everyone. Mom, don't say such things. We'll cure you, and everything will be fine, Tiffany replied. Of course it will, Tiffany, but without me. I'm like a weight dragging you down. Miranda couldn't hold back her emotions and said, "Why are you saying such things? You're not alone. You have such a wonderful grandson, daughter, Alex, and now me too. We won't let you lose hope." Miranda's phone rang in her pocket. It was Alex. "Yes, Alex. How are you doing?" "We found him. Miranda, we found him. Can you imagine, he fell into a pit. I don't even know how he didn't notice it and broke his leg. The search and rescue dog found him. Oh my God. Well, it's not so bad now. He's in the hospital, of course, but his life is not in danger. Although it is. Mom said she'll kill him once he recovers. Miranda smiled. It was so nice to hear her husband's voice. Alex, when are you coming back? We all miss you here. We? Where are you? I, Alex, am sitting at the table with Pamela, Tiffany, and little Leo. I'm drinking champagne, and I'll take a taxi home. There was silence on the line for a moment. Are you still there? Alex asked. Yes, and I'm in no rush to an empty apartment. Miranda. Yes. Miranda, I probably haven't told you in a long time. I love you. She thought she misheard. Yes, Alex, it's been a long time since I heard those words, especially said in that tone. I love you too. Come back soon. Late in the evening, as Miranda was getting ready for bed, she called Angela on Skype. Mom? What happened? Oh, my daughter. So much has happened. Mom, you're scaring me. Angela glanced somewhere to the side, and Miranda concluded that she wasn't alone. You're with. Yes, Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't know you would call. Heinrich is sleeping, so we can talk. Miranda let out a sigh. Her daughter had grown up so much. She told her about her father. Angela exclaimed. Why didn't you call me right away? Why? So you could worry? Grandfather is already safe. But I was in the company of people whom I initially thought poorly of. Miranda told Angela everything, starting from her pursuit of her father. Mom, you're unbelievable. And Dad is unbelievable too. How did all of this happen? Angela turned again, and on the laptop screen appeared the man whom her daughter had shown her before. In quite decent Russian, he began to speak. Good day. I apologize. Perhaps we shouldn't have met this way for the first time, but I inadvertently became a witness to your conversation. I admire your husband and the father of my Angela, as well as that woman. My friend here in Germany has his own clinic. I understand that it was mentioned, as there is no other like it. If you allow me, I also want to help, especially since I am determined to become a member of your family. He explained that they needed to send Pamela for an examination tomorrow, and then he would talk to his friend. I can't promise anything because I'm not knowledgeable in medicine. But if something can be done, my friend will do it. There's no need to worry about money. Miranda fell asleep with a smile on her lips. Yes, there was a big age difference, but this man, Heinrich, was pleasant and handsome, and it was evident how tenderly he cared for Angela. In the morning, Miranda was already at the forest clinic. She explained in a few words what she needed. Pamela's eyes lit up with a spark, and then she burst into tears. You're doing so much for us. First Alex, now you. Stop it, I haven't done anything yet. Miranda returned home when Alex was already there. Apparently, he came and went straight to sleep. He slept on the couch in the living room, fully dressed. Miranda sat down next to him, stroking his hair. Completely gray temples. I never noticed before. Alex caught her hand and pressed it to his lips. Miranda smiled. Just like before. He always used to do that. In the evening, Angela called back. Mom, he's going to help. Heinrich is already looking into tickets to bring the woman here comfortably. Thank you, Angela, and thank Heinrich for me. She hung up. Then Alex asked. So, who is this Heinrich? And who needs to be brought where? Miranda sighed. She needed to explain everything carefully. 6 months later, Angela and Heinrich twirled in a waltz at their own wedding. Alex immediately said that if there were to be a wedding, it would only be here, in their homeland. Miranda felt they had gotten off lightly. If Alex had made a fuss, there might not have been a wedding at all. But when Miranda told him everything, he sat down and then waved his hand. Perhaps everyone had their own lives, and no one had the right to force someone to live in a way they didn't want. There was some commotion at the restaurant's entrance. Alex and Miranda looked in that direction. Miranda smiled. Leo was running toward them at full speed. He immediately hugged both of them. The boy was wearing a fashionable suit. Miranda had bought it herself. Tiffany followed behind him. She recently acquired an admirer. And what an admirer! Steve flew in for his sister's wedding together with his coach, who now never left Tiffany's side, and Pamela walked alongside them. She leaned slightly on a cane but no longer winced with every movement. By the way, Angela mentioned that she also had an admirer at the clinic, who couldn't stop talking about the great, very beautiful, kind, and wonderful woman Pamela. When the commotion settled and everyone took their seats at the tables, Alex stood up. Today, I would like to raise a toast to the person without whom there wouldn't be so many happy people. That's my wife, Miranda. She gave birth to wonderful children for me. Such a beautiful bride could only be her daughter. She has accomplished what many couldn't. She has achieved a lot in her career, and most importantly, she is the most wonderful woman whom I love very deeply. Miranda, I love you so much as it seems, I haven't loved even in my youth. Everyone applauded, and Miranda cried. She should be rejoicing, but she felt the need to shed tears.